Arab millionaire gets married, but his bride runs away and discovers a shocking secret. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. A young woman, Layla, found herself in a life she never imagined. Born into a small, struggling family in Cairo, she had always dreamed of escaping the limitations of her surroundings. Her family had taught her to dream big, even when the world around her seemed to insist that she settle for less. Layla was a waitress at a local cafe, earning just enough to make ends meet, but always with her eyes on something more. One day, a man named Khalid, a wealthy and influential businessman, entered her life. He was everything she had never thought she could have: handsome, powerful, and captivating in ways that made her heart race. At first, he seemed like a dream, a rich man who could give her everything she ever wanted. But Khalid had his own agenda. He was from an old family with ties to the political elite, and his life was set in stone. His family expected him to marry a woman who could help him maintain his status and legacy. Layla, however, had no idea what she was walking into when she agreed to marry him. The proposal came in a way she had never imagined, a business deal wrapped in the guise of a romantic gesture. Khalid promised her a life of luxury, freedom, and comfort. In return, she had to be his wife, but not in the traditional sense. There was no love involved, only mutual benefits. For Layla, it seemed like a chance at a better life, so she agreed. The wedding was grand, held in a lavish palace overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. Layla, still trying to grasp the reality of her new life, felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. But as the wedding day approached, she couldn't help but feel something was off. The deeper she got into the marriage, the more distant Khalid became. Their interactions felt more like a partnership than a loving relationship. And soon, Layla began to notice things she hadn't before. Strange phone calls, late-night meetings, and a coldness in Khalid's demeanor that made her feel like a mere accessory to his life. It wasn't long before Layla discovered a shocking secret. The man she had married, the man who promised her everything, had been hiding a part of his life so dark that it could shatter everything they built together. What was Khalid hiding? And how would Layla respond to the truth that could change everything? Keep watching to find out what happens next. As the days went by, Layla began to feel the weight of the secrets that Khalid was keeping from her. She had married him for a better life, but now, it seemed as though she was living in a gilded cage. His coldness only grew, and his late nights and secretive phone calls left her feeling more isolated than ever. At first, she tried to ignore the feeling in her gut, the nagging suspicion that something wasn't quite right. But the more she observed, the more her doubts grew. One evening, after Khalid had left for one of his meetings, Layla decided to investigate. She had always trusted him, but now she needed answers. She quietly entered his study, a room that was usually off-limits to her. The study was filled with expensive books, old paintings, and shelves lined with trophies of his successful career. Layla had always admired the elegance of the room, but tonight, it felt different. It felt like a place where secrets were hidden. As she rifled through his drawers, she came across a leather-bound folder marked with a seal she didn't recognize. Her heart raced as she opened it, revealing a series of documents that made her blood run cold. There were papers about offshore accounts, cryptic messages, and the name of a woman she had never heard of, with a photo attached. Layla's hands trembled as she stared at the image. It was Khalid, standing with the woman in a cozy home, smiling as if they had shared a life together. The woman looked familiar, but Layla couldn't place her at first. The more she thought about it, the more it became clear, this wasn't just any woman. This was a woman from Khalid's past. Someone important. Layla's mind raced, trying to make sense of the information in front of her. She could no longer ignore the truth. Khalid had been keeping a secret, and it was bigger than anything she could have imagined. The woman in the photo was not just a lover or a former fling. She was tied to Khalid's family, his business, and possibly even his future in ways Layla couldn't fully understand. Feeling a mix of anger, confusion, and betrayal, Layla made a decision. She would confront Khalid. No more running away from the truth. She needed to hear it from him, no matter how painful it would be. That night, when Khalid returned home, Layla was waiting for him. She stood in the middle of their lavish living room, holding the folder in her hands. His eyes widened as he saw the documents, and for the first time, she saw a flicker of something like fear in his eyes. "What is this?" Layla's voice was steady, but the hurt in her eyes was undeniable. Khalid hesitated, his mind clearly working to find the right words, but Layla didn't want to hear excuses. She wanted answers. "I need to know, Khalid. Who is she? And why were you hiding this from me?" The silence stretched between them, thick and heavy. Finally, Khalid spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "Layla, I never meant for you to find out like this." His gaze dropped to the floor, as if ashamed. But his next words shocked her. "She's my sister." Layla's breath caught in her throat. His sister? The woman in the photo wasn't a lover? "She's my sister, Layla," Khalid repeated, his tone pleading. "But the situation is more complicated than you think. I've been trying to protect you from this." Layla's head spun as she processed his words. She had thought the worst, that Khalid had been hiding an affair. But this was something entirely different. Now, everything had changed. Layla stood there, frozen, the weight of Khalid's words hanging in the air. His sister? It didn't make sense. Everything she had assumed about their relationship, everything she had felt, was crashing down around her. She looked at him, her eyes searching for the truth in his expression. The room was silent except for the sound of her heartbeat pounding in her ears. Khalid's eyes met hers, filled with guilt and something else, something deeper. "I know this is a shock," he said, taking a step toward her. "But it's the truth, Layla. I never meant for you to be caught in this." She took a step back, her mind still reeling. "You've been hiding this from me, Khalid." "For how long?" she asked, her voice shaking. He lowered his gaze, his hands clenched at his sides. "I didn't want to bring you into it," he said quietly. "But I had no choice. My family. They expect me to carry on the legacy, to marry someone who can help protect our name. And my sister, she was never supposed to be a part of that. I had to keep her away from the public eye." Layla's breath caught in her throat. "So, what? You were protecting me from the truth? From the reality of what we are? What are we even doing, Khalid? Is this marriage just a facade to you?" Khalid's eyes softened, his voice trembling. "No, Layla. You're not just a facade to me. I care about you. But my life, my family's expectations, it's complicated." Layla stepped away, the sting of his words cutting through her. "Complicated? That's what you're going to say after everything? I thought I was marrying someone I could trust. I thought this was real." Khalid reached out, but she pulled away. "I didn't ask for any of this, Khalid. I didn't ask to be married to someone who couldn't be honest with me." She turned and walked out of the room, her heart heavy with confusion and hurt. She didn't know what to believe anymore. Khalid was a man she once admired, but now, with every secret he'd kept from her, he was becoming someone she didn't even recognize. For the next few days, Layla kept to herself, trying to process everything. She didn't know where to go from here. The mansion felt like a prison. The silence between them was suffocating. She couldn't escape the thoughts swirling in her mind. Every time she looked at Khalid, all she saw was the man who had lied to her. But she also saw the man who had promised her a life of luxury, who had promised to love her, though now she questioned if that was ever true. She had to get away, to clear her head, to figure out what she wanted. So, one afternoon, Layla did the unthinkable. She packed a small bag, left a note, and left the mansion behind. Khalid had been busy with one of his meetings, and she knew it was the only time she would have to escape. The city was bustling with people, but Layla felt more alone than ever. As she walked through the streets, she found herself heading to a small cafe by the river. It was a place she used to visit when life felt too heavy, a place to reflect. She sat by the window, staring at the water as her thoughts drifted. She had no idea what her next step would be. But one thing was certain. She couldn't stay in that marriage, not with all the secrets and lies. She needed to find herself again, to figure out what her life meant beyond the wealth and power Khalid had promised her. Just then, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Khalid. "I know you're upset, Layla. I'm sorry. Please, let's talk. I need you to understand." She stared at the screen for a moment, the pain in her chest growing. She wanted to believe him. But how could she after everything? How could she trust him again? Layla sat alone in the small cafe, her fingers tracing the rim of her coffee cup. The bustling sounds of the city seemed distant, almost irrelevant to the storm raging inside her. Her phone buzzed again, Khalid's message still glaring on the screen. "I know you're upset, Layla. I'm sorry. Please, let's talk. I need you to understand." She read the message over and over, her heart torn between the hurt she felt and the love that still lingered deep inside her. Could she forgive him? Could she ever trust him again after everything he had kept from her? She knew she needed answers, but what if the answers weren't what she wanted to hear? Taking a deep breath, Layla stood up and left the cafe, determined to face him. She needed closure, one way or another. Khalid was at the mansion when she returned, pacing the living room, his expression filled with guilt and desperation. When he saw her, his face softened, and he immediately took a step forward. "Layla," he said, his voice hoarse. "I know you're angry. I don't blame you, but I need you to understand why I did what I did." Layla's eyes narrowed. "I don't know if I can understand, Khalid. All this time, I thought we had something real. And now, I don't even know who you are." Khalid's face fell, and he ran a hand through his hair. "I never wanted to hurt you. I swear. But my family, they have a hold on me. My sister, she's part of something much bigger than you or me. And I couldn't let you get dragged into it." Layla felt her anger rise again. "So you lied to me. You made me part of your game, your family's game. What kind of life is that?" Khalid stepped closer, his eyes pleading with her. "I thought I could protect you. I thought that if I kept you in the dark, you'd be safe. But now I see I've only made everything worse." Layla took a step back, the weight of his words sinking in. "You don't get to make decisions for me, Khalid. You don't get to keep me in the dark while you play your games." Khalid's shoulders slumped. "I know. I was wrong. But Layla, I love you. And I need you. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for a chance to make things right." Layla's heart wavered. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to go back to the life they had shared, to the life she thought they could have. But something deep inside told her that the truth was more complicated than just love. "I don't know if I can forgive you," she said, her voice breaking. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again." Khalid's face twisted in pain. "I'll do whatever it takes, Layla. Whatever it takes to make you see that I'm not the man you think I am. Just give me a chance." She stood there, staring at him, torn between the man she had fallen in love with and the man he had turned out to be. Her heart told her to walk away, but her mind couldn't ignore the love they had shared. She wasn't ready to make a decision yet, but she knew one thing for sure. Things would never be the same between them. She couldn't go back to the way things were. The secrets, the lies, everything had changed. And now, Layla had to decide if she could move forward with Khalid, or if it was time to leave him behind for good. Layla spent the following days in turmoil, her heart torn between what she had once hoped for and the painful reality of the man standing before her. Khalid's apologies had been sincere, and yet, the words seemed hollow, unable to erase the doubt that had taken root inside her. She couldn't ignore the feeling that he had never fully trusted her with the truth, that their marriage, built on lies and secrets, would never be what she had dreamed of. She walked the grand halls of the mansion, the echo of her footsteps serving as a constant reminder of the distance that had grown between them. Despite Khalid's promises, despite his tearful declarations of love, Layla could not bring herself to let go of the truth she had uncovered. It was hard to deny that something had shifted between them, that the foundation of their relationship had cracked. One evening, as she stood by the window looking out over the city, she made up her mind. She needed time. Time away from Khalid, from the secrets, from the lies. She couldn't make any decisions in the midst of the storm that was raging inside her. With a heavy heart, Layla packed a bag and left the mansion, not knowing where she was going, but knowing she couldn't stay. Khalid called her repeatedly, but she didn't pick up. She needed space. She needed clarity. She needed to remember who she was before Khalid, before the marriage. After a few days, Layla found herself in a small coastal town, far away from the life she had known. She rented a small apartment overlooking the ocean, the sound of the waves crashing against the shore giving her some peace. It was here, in the quiet, that she began to piece herself back together. The weight of Khalid's world, of his family's expectations, no longer felt suffocating. For the first time in a long while, she felt free. As the days passed, Layla took long walks along the beach, letting the wind clear her mind. She thought about the man she had married, the man she had once trusted completely. She thought about the lies he had told her, the secrets he had hidden. and she wondered if he could ever be the man she needed him to be. But, as the sun set on another peaceful evening, Layla realized something that surprised her. She wasn't angry anymore. The hurt was still there, but anger had faded. She wasn't sure if she could forgive Khalid yet, but she understood him in a way she hadn't before. His world had been built on expectations, on pressures that were too heavy for anyone to carry alone. She had felt the weight of his family's control, the way they had shaped his decisions, and perhaps she had never truly understood just how much he had been influenced by them. As much as she loved him, Layla knew one thing for certain. She couldn't live in a world of secrets and lies. She needed honesty, transparency, and trust. These were the foundations of a relationship that could survive, not the illusion of perfection that Khalid had created. It was time to face the truth, to decide whether their love was enough to overcome the walls they had built between them. And so, Layla made the decision to return to Khalid, but not as the woman she had been before. She was different now, stronger, and ready to confront him and their future. When she arrived back at the mansion, Khalid was waiting for her, his face a mixture of relief and fear. He didn't speak at first, just watched her approach. Layla looked at him, her heart still unsure, but resolute. "We need to talk," she said, her voice steady. Khalid nodded, and they both knew that this conversation would change everything. Layla stood in front of Khalid, her eyes steady, her heart still a mix of uncertainty and resolve. The conversation they had been avoiding for so long was now unavoidable, and she knew that it would be the turning point in their relationship. She had spent days alone, thinking, reflecting on what had happened between them. She couldn't deny the love she still felt for him, but she also couldn't ignore the deep wound that had formed from the lies, the secrets, and the weight of his family's expectations. Khalid watched her, his face etched with both guilt and hope. He opened his mouth to speak, but Layla raised a hand, signaling for him to wait. She needed to say what had been building inside her for so long. "I don't know where we go from here, Khalid," she began, her voice steady but firm. "I don't know if I can forgive everything you've kept from me. I don't know if I can forget the way you hid the truth about your sister, about your life. But what I do know is that I can't live in a world where I'm kept in the dark, where I don't know who I'm truly married to." Khalid swallowed hard, his eyes filled with regret. "Layla, I understand why you're hurt. I never wanted to lie to you. I thought I was protecting you from my world, from all the pressure and expectations that come with it. But I see now that I was only hurting you by keeping you out of the truth." Layla took a deep breath, her thoughts swirling. "I didn't marry you for your wealth, Khalid. I married you because I thought you were someone I could trust, someone who would be honest with me. But the man I married, he's not the man I thought you were." Khalid's face twisted with pain, and he took a step closer. "I'm sorry, Layla. I was wrong. I thought I could protect you from my family's influence, from the pressure to follow in their footsteps. But I see now that I've made things worse. You deserve so much more than what I've given you." Layla felt the sting of his words, but she also saw the sincerity in his eyes. The man standing before her was different from the man she had married. But was it enough? Could she trust him again? She closed her eyes for a moment, gathering her thoughts. "I need you to be honest with me, Khalid. I need to know who you really are. No more lies, no more secrets. If we're going to move forward, we need to build a foundation of trust." Khalid nodded, his voice breaking. "I promise, Layla. From now on, I will be honest with you. I will do whatever it takes to prove to you that I'm worthy of your trust." There was a long silence between them, the weight of their conversation settling in the room. Layla's mind raced. She loved him, she couldn't deny that. But love alone wasn't enough to heal the wounds that had been created by the lies and secrets. She needed more. She needed a partner who would stand by her side, not just as a husband, but as someone who would be truthful with her, no matter the cost. "I need time," Layla said quietly. "I need to figure out if we can rebuild this, if we can start over with honesty and trust. I can't promise anything yet, Khalid, but I'm willing to try." Khalid looked at her with a mixture of hope and sadness, his heart aching with the thought of losing her. But he knew she was right. He had a long way to go to earn back her trust, and he would do whatever it took. As Layla turned to leave the room, Khalid's voice stopped her. "Thank you," he said, his voice soft. "Thank you for giving me a chance to make things right." Layla didn't look back, but in her heart, she knew that this was just the beginning of a long journey. The road ahead would be difficult, but maybe, just maybe, They could find a way to rebuild their relationship, one truth at a time. The following weeks were filled with silence, broken only by the occasional phone call or text between Layla and Khalid. She had retreated into herself, needing space to process everything that had happened. Khalid, for his part, respected her need for distance. He had promised to be honest, to prove himself worthy of her trust, and he intended to keep that promise. But the road to redemption wasn't as simple as he had hoped. One evening, Layla decided it was time to confront the reality of their situation. She had been avoiding the inevitable conversation for weeks, but now, standing on the balcony of her small apartment overlooking the city, she realized she couldn't keep running from the truth. She had spent so much time reflecting on what she wanted, but now it was time to figure out what was best for both of them. As she dialed Khalid's number, her heart raced. The past few weeks had been a whirlwind of emotions, and she wasn't sure if she was ready for what would come next. Khalid answered on the second ring. "Layla," he said, his voice hesitant but full of hope. "How are you?" She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "I'm okay, Khalid. I've been thinking a lot about everything, and I think it's time for us to talk. To really talk." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Khalid wasn't sure what she was going to say, but he was prepared for whatever came next. "I've been waiting for this moment," he finally said. "I know I've hurt you, and I understand if you can't forgive me. But I need you to know that I'm not the same man I was when we first met. I've changed, and I want to change for you." Layla nodded, even though he couldn't see her. "I've been thinking about that a lot, too," she said, her voice soft. "I need to believe that you've changed, Khalid. But I also need to believe that you're doing this for the right reasons, not because you feel obligated to fix things. You can't just fix things for me. You have to do it for yourself, for who you really are." Khalid swallowed hard, her words hitting him deeply. He had spent so much of his life trying to live up to other people's expectations, trying to fit into a mold that wasn't his own. But now, with Layla, he realized that he had been living in a world of lies, and he wanted to break free from that. "I understand," he said, his voice steady. "I've spent so much time trying to please my family, trying to live up to their expectations. But I know now that I can't live that way anymore. I want to live for me, for us, if you're willing to give me that chance." Layla felt a tear slip down her cheek, but she wiped it away quickly. "I'm not sure what the future holds for us, Khalid," she said, her voice trembling. "But I'm willing to try. I'm willing to give us a chance, but only if we start over. No more lies. No more secrets. Only honesty and trust." Khalid's heart soared at her words. "I'll do whatever it takes, Layla. I swear. I will spend the rest of my life proving to you that I'm the man you deserve." Layla smiled softly, though there was still a part of her that was unsure. But for the first time in a long time, she felt a glimmer of hope. They weren't there yet, but maybe, just maybe, they could find a way forward. She had learned a lot about herself during their time apart, and now she knew that the most important thing was to trust herself and her instincts. "Let's take it one step at a time, Khalid," she said. "But for now, I'm willing to take that first step." Khalid smiled through the phone, his voice filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Layla. I promise I won't let you down." The line went silent for a moment, but neither of them felt the need to speak. They both knew that this was only the beginning. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but it was a road they would walk together, step by step. And maybe, just maybe, they would find their way back to each other. The days that followed were filled with small steps, moments of rebuilding the trust that had been shattered between Layla and Khalid. They had agreed to take it slow, to give each other the space to heal and rediscover what their relationship could truly be. The weight of their past was still heavy on both of them, but they knew they had a choice now, to move forward with honesty or to let go completely. Khalid had kept his word, proving that his commitment to change was real. He no longer kept secrets, and for the first time, Layla felt like she could breathe in his presence. They spent more time together, not in the grandiose way that had defined their marriage before, but in simple, quiet moments. Walks through the city, quiet dinners, and honest conversations about their dreams, fears, and regrets. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. One evening, as they sat on the balcony of their home, watching the sunset together, Khalid turned to Layla, his voice serious yet filled with hope. "I've been thinking a lot about the future, about what we want from life. I know we can't undo the past, but I believe we can create something better, something real, together." Layla looked at him, her heart open but cautious. I want that too, Khalid. But we need to take it one day at a time. I need to trust you again, and that's going to take time. But I'm willing to try. I'm willing to give us a chance. Khalid nodded, understanding the weight of her words. I'll do whatever it takes, Layla. I won't rush you. I won't push you. But I want you to know that I'm here, and I'm ready to build something lasting, something built on trust. Layla smiled. Softly, her eyes filled with a mix of hope and uncertainty. It was a long road ahead, and there would be challenges, but she could feel a shift within herself. For the first time in a long while, she was starting to believe in the possibility of a future with Khalid, one where they could be partners in every sense of the word. The next few months were filled with healing, as they continued to rebuild their connection. They went to therapy together, worked through their issues, and slowly, Layla began to feel like she was no longer carrying the weight of the past alone. Khalid was with her every step of the way. One evening, after a particularly difficult conversation about the future, Khalid surprised her. He had planned a small, intimate dinner at their favorite restaurant, a place where they had once shared a moment of joy before everything had fallen apart. As they sat across from each other, their hands gently touching, Khalid reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Layla's heart skipped a beat as he opened it to reveal a simple, yet beautiful ring. Layla, he said, his voice full of emotion, I know we've been through a lot, but I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to prove to you, every single day, that I am the man you deserve. Will you marry me again? Tears welled up in Layla's eyes as she looked at him, her heart overwhelmed with emotion. She had been uncertain, unsure of the path ahead, but in this moment, she knew what she wanted. She wanted this life with Khalid, the life they were slowly building together. Yes, she whispered, her voice shaking. Yes, I will. The future wasn't guaranteed, and there would still be challenges to face. But for the first time, Layla felt like she had found her way back to love, to trust, and to a future with the man she had once feared she would lose forever. Months passed, and with each day, Layla and Khalid grew stronger together. Their relationship, once marked by secrets and lies, had been transformed through hard work, trust, and the shared commitment to rebuilding what had been broken. They were no longer just two people in a marriage of convenience. They had become partners in every sense of the word, facing their challenges together, with honesty as the foundation of everything. The road hadn't been easy, but they had proven that love could survive even the darkest of times, as long as both people were willing to fight for it. Layla had learned that trusting Khalid again wasn't about erasing the past. It was about building something new, something that was entirely theirs. She had let go of the anger and hurt, choosing instead to focus on the present and the future they were now creating. Khalid, on his part, had proven his commitment to her. He had not only kept his promises, but had gone above and beyond to show that he was willing to put in the effort to earn her trust. He had become the man she had always hoped he could be, not just for her, but for himself as well. One sunny afternoon, as they walked hand in hand through the park where they had first met, Khalid stopped and turned to Layla, his eyes full of warmth and love. I know we've had our struggles, he said, his voice soft. But I believe we've come through it stronger. I believe in us, Layla, and I want to keep building a life with you. Layla smiled, feeling her heart swell with emotion. I believe in us too, Khalid, she replied, her voice steady but filled with love. We've been through so much, and yet here we are, standing together. I'm ready for whatever comes next, as long as we face it together. Khalid squeezed her hand gently. I promise, we'll face it together, every step of the way. As they continued to walk, their steps in sync, Layla realized that the journey they had been on was far from over. But it was no longer a journey filled with uncertainty. With each passing day, they had built a foundation of trust and love that would guide them through whatever challenges lay ahead. They didn't need perfection, they just needed each other. That evening, at a small celebration with close friends and family, Khalid raised his glass to toast their future. To us, he said, his voice strong and sure. To the love that's brought us together, and to the future we'll build, one step at a time. Layla's heart was full as she joined him in the toast. She had found something that couldn't be bought, true love, true partnership. And in that moment, surrounded by the people who supported them, she knew that this was only the beginning of a new chapter for them both. No longer bound by the past, They were free to create a future full of promise, hope, and most importantly, trust. Their story wasn't just one of love. It was a story of growth, redemption, and the belief that, with the right person, anything was possible. And as they looked ahead, Layla and Khalid knew that no matter what came next, they would face it together, with love and trust as their guiding